think one of the most interesting trends in the world at the political and scholarly level that are of interest to me is this whole craze about, and craze isn't fair, but this whole focus recently on the subject of UFOs, right, or unidentified flying objects. I've been studying the phenomena that some call now UAPs, or unidentified aerial phenomena. That gives it, I guess, a sense of respectability that that sort of jettisons the baggage that some people claim comes with the idea of UFOs. But I actually think that even the government is talking about UFOs, even though they're talking about UAPs. I'll come back to that. But I've been studying this idea of UFOs at the intersection of African American religion and race for probably a decade and a half now. Entered the conversation, of course, through these African American religious traditions, including the Nation of Islam, which cannot be understood, accurately understood, that is, separate and distinct from their focus on UFOs, or what they call the mother wheel. But I've also been interested in UFO currents in other African American traditions, such as two Black women who call themselves the UFO twins, or Sun Ra, who was a jazz musician and metaphysician as well, or Prophet Yahweh, who is no longer living, but I remember having a conversation with him right around 2014. Prophet Yahweh understood himself as a UFO summoner and caller, and he had a school where he could teach you how to do that too. But he was an African-American religious person who said he could demonstrate his intimate connection with UFOs. And again, that was through the practice of summoning or calling UFOs. And then there are, of course, these other traditions in African-American religion, this idea of aliens and space travel among the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors and Malachi York, and just multiple traditions that have always interested me. And eventually I'll write a book on it, and presses are actually already asking me to submit a proposal. And so I enter that conversation at the intersection, again, of race and African-American religion with a real strong interest in science, and a growing interest in science and how all of this comes together. And of course, as you know, it was just 2 years ago when the Department of Defense held their press conference, maybe you weren't aware, and released a 9-page, declassified version of their study of UAPs. Really, they're talking about UFOs. UFO is something of unidentified provenance and identity that has propulsion. And, that's really what they're talking about. So when they say UAPs, I get it. There's a lot of baggage associated with the term UFOs, but let's just be real. They're talking about UFOs. And so they released this report, something like June 25th, 26th, something like that, of 2021. So we're just coming up on a year of that, where the government is talking about these objects that they have documented around military installations and elsewhere that they've been monitoring for years, many of which defy their own understanding and represent, and this is language from the report now, the 9-page report, may represent breakthrough technologies. In other words, these objects are behaving in ways that are sort of illegible in current physics and current science to their knowledge. And I laugh. I mean, I'm interested because my involvement with this kind of work, both in private research groups, I'm part of 2 research groups, but also my own scholarship has meant that increasingly scientists are connecting with me, which I really love, because I don't know that much about physics or quantum mechanics. We read some in the class that you had with me, but for upcoming project, I need to read a lot more. And so having all these really great scientists, many of whom are physicists and experts in quantum mechanics, is going to be really helpful for me to gain a real at least a significant knowledge in order to do some of the work that I'm doing in this book. And so I just think this whole thing about UFOs really important. And there was just a government hearing you probably saw, the House of Representatives, just maybe a few weeks ago. And I just want to say I was already here doing that work. And that's one of the things that's so interesting about it to me. At the same time, it really has expanded the nature of my work. I'm in much more conversation, not just with historians of religion, but also with scientists. And that's really exciting for me.